Welcome to the Health by Haven podcast. I'm your host, Haven Quinlan. If you're a multi-passionate wellness enthusiast, then you're in the right place. I'm obsessed with learning as much as I can about the wellness world, and I want to share that with you. Each episode will dive into various aspects of health and wellness through inspiring and informative guest interviews with some solo episodes thrown in. Tune in for all things health, and let's have some fun, shall we? Jodi Scott is the founder of Green Goo and CEO of Spry Life, where she focuses on plant-based first aid, skin barrier health, and nervous system supported wellness. With a background in pre-med studies and a master's degree in health psychology, Jodi brings science, lived experience, and ancestral plant wisdom to help people care for themselves with confidence and clarity. She co-founded Green Goo with her mom and sister in a tiny kitchen, crafting herbal salves in mason jars. What began as a family-made first aid grew into nationally distributed brand that sold over 1 million jars. Jodi's work centers on helping people move out of chronic fight or flight and into regulation resilience and trust their own bodies using simple plant-based tools and practical nervous system support. And in today's episode, we discuss all of that and more. The story of Green Goo, how the products are formulated, how they pioneered FDA regulation in the plant medicine space, and how nourishing your skin can nourish your nervous system. I know you're going to learn so much in this episode, so please join me in welcoming Jodi Scott to the Health by Haven podcast. Jodi, thank you so much for joining us today on the Health by Haven podcast. I am so thrilled to chat all things health and the power of plant medicine with you.
Oh, it is a treat to be here with you. Thank you.
So for listeners who haven't heard of you or either of your companies, can you give us a little bit of a background into who you are and how you became interested in this world of health?
Yes, so it's been quite a journey. I got my master's in health psychology and was pre-med. I was training resident physicians on the biopsychosocial model, and I was specializing in psychoneuroimmunology. So what does that mean in practice?
Yeah.
So in training resident physicians, I was teaching them how to not just prescribe, but really look at the patient as a whole. Find other data points that can help move the intervention forward, even as simple as, do you have community? Are you able to pay your bills and things like that so that you can perhaps offer additional resources? And then psychoneuroimmunology is very much the science and the relationship between your nervous system, your immune system, and your psychology. And it's kind of interesting, fast forward to today, how much I actually use that with our skincare brand. And my sister's an herbalist and a midwife. And for me, what really kickstarted Green Goo was I was pregnant and I went to open up my first aid cabinet to use something. I had gotten a cut and I was reading the ingredients and I was like, ew, I don't want to use this while I'm pregnant. And then I started thinking about like parenting and I was like, I don't want to use this on my daughter.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so interesting because I was eating healthy foods. I was reading the labels. And I told my sister, I said, why are we making this exception? Why are we being told that this is the only solution? And is that the case? And we found we weren't alone. The natural consumer was willing to abandon their natural ethos because they were told these chemical-laden, one-time use first aid solutions were the only things that could get the job done for your wound care. And then I thought even more interesting was that chronic skin conditions are at an all-time high, and the conventional consumer was less interested about the ingredients and more disappointed about the efficacy. Use 7 to 10 days, discontinue use if symptoms persist, which often they did. And then you had to go see your physician, which was really inconvenient. And we have this idea that if it doesn't sting or burn when you put it on or dry out the wound site, it must not be working. And there's a lot of science to counterbalance that in terms of skin repair. So my sister and I thought, well, what if we can make a plant-based first aid solution that's superior in efficacy? And oh, by the way, also clean ingredients. So we took her Eastern and traditional herbal wisdom and combined it with my Western medicine background, and Green Goo was born.
I love that story. I love the combination of the Eastern and Western approaches. That's like all what we're about over here at Health by Haven is like one isn't necessarily better than the other. I think the two can really work well in tandem. There's a time and a place for both of them. And so I love kind of hearing about how those two work together to form your company and to help people have alternative solutions to maybe what you would typically find if you opened up a first aid kit. So when you realized, like, I don't actually want to be putting this on my body when I'm pregnant, I don't want to be putting this on my kids, to deciding, well, we could make a solution. Take us on that journey. Like that sounds so overwhelming to me to be like, oh, I'm just going to like create my own thing. How did you figure out what herbs to use and what concoctions to make that were effective?
Thank goodness we took it in small bites because if someone were to tell me 10 years later that I was going to have to learn all the things that I learned, I would have just been I would have had complete paralysis. But so my sister, her herbal wisdom is just incredible. And with my science background and very research heavy, I started researching consumer behavior and what was in the first aid sets. And we saw, people were looking for wound care, but they were also looking for solutions to take the sting and the itch out, like bug bites or, rashes and irritated skin. But then they also were looking for anti-inflammatory, after sun, burn and scar. And so those really were like the pivotal symptom relief. And so then we went and started looking at the herbs that would work that way. And what was so interesting is we identified, and this very much came from my sister's herbal wisdom, was that one herb, for example, calendula, is an astringent, but it also is antifungal, anti-yeast, antimicrobial. And there's a lot of evidence that it helps build and stimulate tissue repair and bring hydration to the wound site. Well, what it does is when you combine that with like plantain and yarrow, alone, those two things have their separate capabilities. So, plantain's like nature's Band-Aid, and yarrow helps, bring oxygen to the wound site, while the other one's the anticoagulant. But then when you put those three herbs together, they all synergistically work together. So, some of this was very much experimental at the time before we became registered with the FDA, and then we could really lean in more with the data that was available. And we were growing the herbs in our backyard. We had bees.
Yeah.
And we started just drying the herbs on old screen doors. And on our front porch, we had all these screen doors with all these herbs drying on them. And then our back porch was like full of all of these vats as we're like infusing. And then our kitchen became a production facility. We're selling it at the farmer's market. And we were so busy that we actually had to take our camping equipment and make an outdoor kitchen for us to cook our food because we couldn't even cook inside the house. And it was so beautiful to have that time with our customers because they were really sharing their experiences and validating for us what we hoped, which was, a mom is like my son who had horrible eczema. Is now not embarrassed to go to school because now his flare up is under control. People who had sustained long-term injuries or surgeries were using our pain relief product and now going out and enjoying their outdoor adventures. We had, speaking of outdoor adventures, we had like people who were like big bicycle people and they're like lifting up their gashes and they're like, I used to put dirt in my cuts when I was out
Oh
and got
gosh.
like in a bike wreck in the middle of the mountains. He's like, no, I put Green Goo in.
Oh.
It's just started from farmers market and then retailers started reaching out and people wanted to reorder on a website. And we just kind of like step by step tackled each thing along the way as we grew.
What was your very first product?
We had three, and those are still our top three today. And actually, I think I could say four. So the pain relief very quickly was one of the originals. But we have our natural first aid, which is more than just for cuts and scrapes because no one ever has their first aid kit with you when you need it. So we're like, let's make this a portable first aid just in this little tiny jar. So it's for cuts and scrapes, but then bug bites, bee stings, poison ivy, abrasions, ingrown toenails, chapped lips, sunburn. So it's really, you take this with you in your pocket. My husband has it in his pocket everywhere he goes. But truly, that's the one thing every household should have. And you can literally put it in various places. And then our skin repair, which is your after sun burn and scar, which
Mm.
quickly, it was interesting. Our customers started using it as an anti-aging solution. And so
Oh.
now it's like your lotion alternative,
Mm.
but also your night cream. So I call this like your beauty care Swiss Army knife, where you don't need
Yeah.
anything else but like just use it head to toe, and it's so hydrating, and it helps with mild irritations as well. And then our dry skin formula, which is the one for eczema and dry skin. And John Hopkins has been using that for over a decade in their scleroderma and skin condition department.
Wow.
And then our pain relief, which is our anti-inflammatory. So those are the four core, and those are really like your first aid bundle, if you will. They cover all bases.
As the days get longer and everything starts to bloom, spring allergy season sneaks in right along with the sunshine. So let's talk about a little self-care magic to help your body stay balanced and your energy lifted. At Avoda Massage Therapy in Columbia, South Carolina, you can experience red light LED therapy with massage, and trust me, it's as good as it sounds. Red and near infrared light work deep within your cells to boost circulation, calm inflammation, and support your immune system, which is especially helpful when pollen is in the air and your body is working overtime. Pair that with a soothing massage, and you've got the perfect blend of relaxation and seasonal reset. It's warmth, light, and renewal all in one session, leaving you relaxed, recharged, and ready to glow your way through spring. So treat yourself to some radiant wellness. Book your red light LED therapy with massage at Avoda Massage Therapy in Columbia, or learn more at avodamassagetherapy.com. Because feeling your best this season should be as refreshing as spring itself. Yeah, and well, I love that the products sound so versatile as well, because I think a lot of times, there's companies that have like 100 different products. For instance, let's just pick a skincare routine, right? You see people like influencers online, they're like using 20 products in the morning and then like 20 different products in the evening. It's like so overwhelming, first of all, like who has the time for that? And also, like, that can get very costly to be like adding all these things. And so I love that. I love the like easier solution of like one-stop shop. So that sounds like it was a really incredible solution for your customers that were like the very OGs at the farmers market.
It's so true. And it's like, I love when I open up my first aid cabinet and it's like so organized and so simple, because I don't have all this like one time use stuff like you're
Mm.
talking about. And then it expires before you need it again.
Hmm.
And like we use the goo for everything. And so it's really, it's not just about the efficacy, but it's that mantra of like simplify your life, simplify
Mm.
your space. And I
Hmm.
love simplifying the routines. Like we call it Sanctuary Sunday, where we'll just like butter up from head to toe, put our bathrobe on, let our skin just like drink it up. And like for 30 minutes, I'm like reading, or I'm sitting outside with my daughter, listening to the birds, just like really having a present moment. And then, get dressed for the day, and you just feel so amazing. And
Mm.
your skin, when you're feeding it the things that it loves and avoiding the things that are making your skin work harder, because we really overlook the fact that our skin is not just our largest organ, it is rich in neurotransmitters, and it's like constantly in fight or flight to serve us. And so that's that full circle with my psychoneuroimmunology, is
Mm.
like skin health impacts your nervous system, it impacts your psychology, it impacts your immune system.
We are on the same wavelength here, because that was where I wanted to go next with this, is like when you're talking about having your relaxation on Sunday, like having a moment where you have all the product on, you need to give it time to like soak in. So you're just reading or you're spending time with family. Like, I think that's such an undervalued part of health, especially, most of the listeners of the podcast are in the States, and our society is very like, go, 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 go. You like always have to be doing something, always have to be producing something. And I think that's why like so many people don't feel well is because we're never giving ourselves that rest. And so I love that that is like a little pause for you. Um, and like giving your organ, your largest organ, that reset as well.
It is. And I really didn't realize till we started this journey. I mean, first of all, the things we're putting on our body are full of parabens and petroleums and phthalates and forever chemicals. And it's making our skin have to work harder. And if you think about then the skin's working harder and it stimulates inflammation, and then your immune system has a response, and then your cortisol goes up, and then all of a sudden you're stressed and you don't feel good and you feel icky. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but you don't really know how to pinpoint it, right? You just
Mm-hmm.
feel that way. But when you start avoiding and first getting rid of those ingredients and then feeding the skin what it loves, it is like a complete lifestyle shift. And I just love it.
Amazing. So, talk to us a little bit about you're running the shop out of your house. You know, you're pushed out of your own kitchen because of all the different concoctions going on. You're selling at the farmers market. Sounds like you guys had really great demand. When did you go from shifting from that into like a production facility into larger scale? And like how I'm so curious about all the like FDA regulation and everything that goes into this. Like, talk us through all of that.
It was bananas. So, yeah. And finally, it was like, okay, we can't keep having this outdoor kitchen. This is not going to work. But we wanted to make sure we protected the integrity of the process because why our green goo formulas work so well is we're protecting the integrity of the plant. We're not buying pre-made synthetics and concentrates that are on the market that a lot of that plant integrity has been compromised. And a lot of times they have sneaky ingredients in there that interfere with the plant's medicinal properties.
Mm.
So we had to work hard to find a manufacturer that we could have those synergies with. And it really took a manufacturer whose son had eczema. And he met us at a trade show. He tried our dry skin formula and he called us like 2 weeks later and he was like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but my son has never had this kind of relief over the counter. The world needs these products. He's like,
Wow.
we're going to figure this out. So we created a dedicated line with a dedicated team with our dedicated process to be able to bring Green Goo to the world. And we still bring those plants to the manufacturing facility, take it through that same process. We just don't have an outdoor kitchen. and and bring these rich medicinal oils that you can't find anywhere else custom into these solutions. So that was a big milestone. And
Mm,
then we found out the FDA was starting to register plant-based solutions and homeopathics uh, through their process. And
mm,
so that was really important to us to be able to reference these herbs as active ingredients. So when
mhm,
you look at the back of a green goo label, you'll see an OTC monograph the same way you see on traditional OTC, but we get to actually call out the plants and what they do. Now, my sister being the herbalist would love if we could call out the plants in more ways on the packaging,
mm,
but we have to do it the way the FDA recognizes it. So we went through
mhm,
that process, which was a huge milestone because we were one of the very first to do it. So there wasn't really like a process yet. Thank
mhm.
goodness my mom is just a ferocious learner. She just never stops learning. And she's like, we're doing this. So
Yeah.
now she actually helped train other attorneys to help their clients to be able to do the process like 5, 6 years later. It was pretty cool.
Wow.
And then it was just retail. Like, I'll never forget going to a meeting. And it was so cute because I was like, okay, mom, what are you going to wear? She's
Mhm.
like, I'm not going. I'm the graphic designer. I'm staying home. And I'm like, okay, no, 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 no. So I looked at my sister, Jen, and I'm like, okay, so what are you wearing? What are we going to do? She's like, I'm the herbalist. I am not going to the sales meeting. I'm like, did I just draw the short straw? Like, come on. I don't know what I'm doing either.
Yeah.
So I went to the meeting and I'm sitting in the waiting room, and this is my first big meeting. And there was someone there pitching diapers. It's so wild. And she goes, this is the second largest retailer in the world. I was like, I did not need to know that. I was like, I'm already nervous enough. And of
Yeah.
course, I go into the meeting and they're using all these acronyms that I do not understand.
Yeah.
Are you EDI compatible? Are you working with SBS? On and on. And I'm like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So I get out of the meeting. I'm like, we got in. I have no idea what we just committed to. And that just kind of set the stage. So, all of a sudden we learned what it meant to be in retail.
Mm.
And I was traveling 3 weeks out of the month, meeting with retailers. Oh my gosh, I'll remember, I never forget this one too. I'm at a national pharmacy meeting and I'm talking to the buyer and I'm like, I have a plant-based first aid for you. And he's like, how do those two words even go in the same sentence? He about fell out of his chair. He's like, I don't even understand. And I was like, just take it home and you'll see, because this was before anyone was using the words plant-based. No one
Yeah.
understood what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, he fell in love with it and we made it on the shelf. But a lot of Green Goo that first 6, 7 years was forging the path. It really wasn't
Mm-hmm.
until around the pandemic that the word plant-based became a phrase that people not only understood, but gave more credibility that it actually
Mm-hmm.
could perform and have efficacy.
Yes. On a similar vein, like I've been a vegetarian since I was 5. Okay. This was like way, way before it was cool, way before like being a vegan was cool, you know? So I can kind of relate to your like early, like people looking at you like, what the heck? Like looking at you like you're crazy, you know? And then feeling like, actually, I was just early to the party. Like, you're welcome,
Right.
everyone. But I'm sure it was probably like an added uphill battle for you guys to be like, no, this is like a good, safe alternative that's like actually going to work for people.
Well, and that was the big thing, was saying, okay, yes, we're plant-based. And that's a term that you're still getting comfortable with. I'm like, but it performs better. So I was like, just forget for a moment that I even use the word plant-based. And I want you to just look at this as like, this will sit next to the Neosporin. This will sit next to the
Hmm.
hydrocortisone. And I was like, and then, by the way, it's plant-based. And so it was so fun having customers come to us and being like, I've had poison ivy for 6 months. I've tried everything and I don't believe in natural, but I heard that this thing could work. This is a last ditch effort. I'm going to use it. And then 2 days it's gone. And they're like, huh, what else do you have? And it was like, yay, we're bringing people into the plant-based portal, because all
Yeah.
of a sudden they're recognizing that it can in fact work. And in all fairness too, the people who had experienced natural also were not experiencing natural in the way that we do green goo. They're just getting, very little plant properties, or it's mixed with a paraben base, so it's just sitting on the
Hmm.
surface of your skin. So for them, they also hadn't experienced something of this level too.
Yeah, absolutely. Pregnancy, motherhood, and modern life place incredible demands on a woman's body, especially on her nervous system. Foundation of Stone Pediatric and Perinatal Family Chiropractic in Knoxville, Tennessee helps women and families create a solid foundation for health from the very beginning. Through gentle, nervous system focused chiropractic care, they support moms through pregnancy, babies through growth and development, and families looking for a proactive approach to their health. Instead of guessing, they use advanced insight scans to understand how the nervous system is responding to stress and how it can function more efficiently. I've known the owner, Dr. Brittany Rohr, since high school and would recommend her to anyone in Knoxville looking for family-centered whole body care. Visit tnkidschiro.com to learn more about Dr. Brittany and Foundation of Stone Pediatric and Perinatal Family Chiropractic. What's been one of the biggest like pinch me moments for you throughout this whole journey that you're like, how is this my life?
I think I get them frequently and they're from my customers. So this will just be a more recent one. A couple weeks ago, we had a mom reach out and her daughter, maybe about 5 or 6, has been suffering from severe eczema for the last year. And she's like, we're not sleeping. We have tried everything prescription, over the counter. She sent us pictures and she's like, we're miserable. And same thing. I've never used a natural product before. I don't believe this is going to work. How can this work better than anything else that we've tried? But we heard through the grapevine, so we're willing to give it a shot. And, she really vented about not sleeping, because when you have eczema, At night is when it's the worst, right? Because all of
Mm.
a sudden it's quiet and all you feel is the itching. And of course, like
Yeah.
fabric is uncomfortable. So
Hmm.
we set her up with a regiment and she took pictures at week starting point and then week one. And she was like blown away. And then week two, and she's like, the flare up is gone. We are literally now just using the skin repair for the scarring. And my daughter is smiling and we are sleeping. She's
Oh,
like, I cannot believe I waited a year for this. And this is in 2 weeks. And I
yeah.
just had so much gratitude that we can continue to bring that to people. And then it just opens up their eyes to a whole new world. And of course, I'm like, keep taking care of that skin barrier. Like, don't
Yeah.
stop using it. I was
Right.
like, but now you've got a solution. And so much of our skin barrier has been compromised. And it's such a gift. I have so much gratitude to do what we do.
Yeah, really like truly helping people. When you think like, oh, like a little skin rash, like not a huge deal, but when it is affecting your day-to-day life that much, like it's life-changing when you find something that like gives you that relief.
Absolutely. It is an absolute game changer. And if you, again, it goes back to that relationship too of like your nervous system, your skin, it's rich in neurotransmitters. When that thing is flared up, it's its first line of defense. Everything else is just, it's the pits. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty cool. And being able to do this with my mom and sister, it's super fun. We have a great time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, are you ever like, oh my gosh, we can't get away from each other? Or do you love working together?
Well, it was interesting because we were so afraid that we were going to have, like, it was going to ruin our relationship. We had
Hmm.
heard so much about family businesses and how they become toxic and the relationships fall apart. And so we were really proactive. We went and met with like therapists, family offices, people who had ran or worked for family businesses. And we were like, give us best practices so we can stay
Yeah.
ahead of this. And one of them was discover each other's zone of genius
Mm.
and respect each other's lanes. So figure out who, like, what each role needs to be very clearly
Hmm.
and give them the trust and the autonomy to do that. And so, to your point, we don't see each other a lot throughout the day because we are in very different zones of genius. We're
Yeah.
all doing different things. So by the end of the day, we're like very eager to spend time. People are like, how can you go and spend an evening together? I'm like, we don't get to see each other that much actually during the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
But it certainly helped because there were moments where you want to overstep your boundary
Yeah.
because you're family and you think you
Yeah.
can, and
Hmm.
you just you stop and really give that person the respect that they need to have in that moment.
Great advice for anyone listening who's considering family business. Okay, I'm sure you guys over the years have run into people who are skeptics, have run into people who are like, no, like we need, you know, harder medicine for things to work or whatever. So, if there are people listening, if they aren't already like, okay, yeah, I need to try this, like what is something you would say to them basically to like help them see, no, like this is also like a really great solution for your issues?
What I love is that today there's so much more data to support this. Like it is science backed, where we are very much bringing forward time honored traditions with this herbal wisdom. And of course, when we started, there wasn't as much science and data available. It was very anecdotal. You know, you just experienced Green Goo, you got the results, so then you continued using it. And today, I just really invite, we know 25% of the population has an allergic reaction to neomycin, which is the active ingredient in neosporin. We know that phthalates, the number one produced man made chemical, is an endocrine disruptor. And we have
Mm,
these forever chemicals that are impacting our health. The data is there.
mm,
And so when you start one just by eliminating, oftentimes you feel like, okay, on this health journey, I can't do everything that people are telling me to do. But if you start with this subtraction, can't say it,
mm.
subtraction model, where you just eliminate the things that don't serve you, that in itself, you're going to start feeling the difference. And then when you can invite nutritional skincare and alternatives as a result, because back to your first statement, Western and Eastern medicine are a beautiful blend together. when you can eliminate the things that make your body work harder, give it the things that nurture it and actually stimulate the repair and stimulate longevity that your body knows how to do and complements, because so much of plant medicine modulates our natural system without compromising it, and complements the systems and like gives it to a heightened sense of performance. Then you put yourself in a really healthy state of being. And then when you need that Western medicine, it's incredibly impactful. A doctor loves to work on a healthy patient. A
Mm-hmm.
healthy patient is going to have far better recovery
Mm-hmm.
and be able to withstand if you need to have something more invasive. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
really just like taking care of your vehicle so that it can serve you for the long haul and be ready for, the unexpected.
I absolutely love that sentiment. I could not agree more. Okay, I have to ask because you're sitting in front of these beautiful bookshelves that are full. Are you a big reader? And if so, what have you been reading lately?
Oh my goodness. If you could see over here, I'm like surrounded by bookshelves and plants.
Amazing.
Yeah, books and plants. I love books. And so actually a dear friend of mine, I'm just starting to read this one, and I'm gonna have a meeting with him next week. Surpass Your Limits by Steve
Mm,
Harden.
yeah.
And he's just a wonderful human being. And this is just about, navigating your way through corporate life and thrive. I tend to, right now in this season, lean in more on some of those resources to help me with my leadership and building this company. And then, of course, I've got lots of science. I love reading journals, like behavior.
Mm.
So, for example, one that was really fun more recently is that the Journal of Behavioral Medicine partnered with the Journal of Dermatology, and they're studying mindfulness in skincare and
Oh,
how that can also be a component to what your wellness journey. So I read a lot of that.
yeah.
I don't read a whole lot of fiction right now. I'm in the middle of writing a book. So
Oh,
I'm
very
doing a lot
fun.
more writing than I am
Yeah.
reading. And my mom and I wrote some children's books as well. So
Oh,
she's illustrating them. And this whole leadership building Green Goo journey has just taught me a lot about the value of presence in leadership and just living, and it's just such an expansive way of living, and these wonderful sort of like nervous system hacks, if you will, that you can be in a better relationship with your body. Because I think about when we first built Green Goo, I spent the first 10 years in like fight or flight.
yeah.
It was like push, 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 and resilience was doing more. And I'm recognizing now like resilience is really being more present. And
Mm.
I feel like I am performing at a much higher level. And so the children's book is kind of introducing some of those concepts in a way that children could appreciate and digest it, because I've seen the impact it's had on my daughter, and it's had such a positive impact on her mindset. And so I think, well, what if we can empower children to have some of that wisdom?
Oh, that just makes me so happy because you're right. Like, we need more of that growing up, especially so we don't have to like unwire all those beliefs and rewire them as adults.
It's so true. And again, that we use a term in our home, an acronym called shaman, and that's like our little North Star. So S is for sleep, adding to the sleep bank. H is for hydration, because we are water. So like
Mm.
making sure that the things that we're drinking are serving us, but you can get hydration from food, you can get hydration from skincare. And then of course, A is antioxidants, same thing. You can get antioxidants from food, from skincare.
Mm.
um, and this mindfulness, and just really giving yourself permission to like take 30 seconds to 2 minutes frequently throughout the day to have those mindful moments. You don't have to meditate for 2 hours. The science supports that frequent and even short durations of mindful moments can have the same impact.
Mm.
And it's been fun watching my daughter do that. And then A is avoid. which kind of comes back to that subtraction model of like
Mm-hmm.
avoid the things that don't serve you. And I think it's permission to avoid situations. Sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
maybe not spending time with some people and
Mm-hmm.
just really protecting your boundary because we're just being inundated all the time.
Yeah.
And as nature. And this one is great for my daughter. Scroll for 10 minutes or go outside for 10 minutes and just
Mm-hmm.
reminding yourself that nature is right there. And
Mm-hmm.
shaman is equitable. You don't have to have a lot of money to like use that as your North Star for your wellness journey.
I love it. That's such a great sentiment, I think, to close out on today. But for people who are listening, who want to try Green Goo for themselves, who want to learn more, where can they find you online and where can they get the products?
Greengoo.com. That is the best place. So you can also email me at jodi@greengoo.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I love visiting with our customers. So don't ever hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to curate a little skincare regimen for you to bring some nice glow and renew your way.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Jodi. I so enjoyed our chat today.
Thank you. It's fun to be here with you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Health by Haven podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and leave a review. It makes such a huge difference in reaching new people and spreading the joy of healthy living. I would also be so appreciative if you subscribe to the show in the listening app of your choice so you never miss an episode. Your support truly means the world to me. Have a happy, healthy day, and I'll talk to you again soon.